Live from the Washington, D.C. area, it's the Inside Scoop, Emerald Planet. All the ecology news that our viewers want to know. Now, here's your host, Executive Director of the Emerald Planet, Dr. Sam Lee Hancock.
Hello and welcome to the Emerald Planet as we come to you from 144 different nations around the globe, coming out of Washington, D.C. in the United States as we look for those 1,000 best practices, the technologies, the services, and the products, and of course the people are making a difference as we go through the 21st century. And we're looking at, in those 144 countries, some of those key nations that are truly making a statement as far as where they're going both in the environment and the economy, and how that we're going to be able to accommodate a planet with 9 billion souls by 2050. And we're looking at how do we balance the habitat as well as the forest, the soil, the water, the air quality, and the basic infrastructure that's going to be needed by 2 billion new people on the planet. I have a gentleman sitting beside me who's been very active in all these areas for a number of years. He's a professor emeritus in biology from the University of Maryland. It's Dr. James Jim Dietz. He's the vice president of what's called Save the Golden Lion Tamarin Association. And he's the founder of the Brazilian Golden Lion Association in Brazil. So, Jim, welcome to the Emerald Planet.
It's a pleasure. Thank you.
Glad to have you here. Tell us a little bit about what is Save the Golden Lion Tamarin.
Save the Golden Lion Tamarin is a U.S. public charity that was created by conservation professionals like myself who have dedicated their careers to conservation of golden lion tamarins in the wild. And what we do, our mission, is to support our Brazilian sister organization, the Associação Mico-Leão-Dourado in Portuguese, which translates to the Golden Lion Tamarin Association. And we provide scientific and financial help to that organization, which is really the boots on the ground doing the work to conserve golden lion tamarins.
I think it's absolutely fantastic. Tell us, what kind of monkeys are these? We're calling them lions, but they really aren't. They're monkeys. So tell us about them.
Golden lion tamarins are one of 4 species of Brazilian lion tamarins, they are about the size of a squirrel. They weigh about a pound, and they're drop dead adorable.
Well, let's get these images up here. We're missing some of these things so people actually see what they look like. Let's get back up here. Hold on just a minute. Get some of these adorable images that we have right there. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Right, so you're looking at a pair of recently born twins. Golden lion tamarins typically have twins, and they are very cute.
No, I tell you, they really are cute, and but they're really very important as far as the environment is concerned. And so tell us a little bit about how do you find these species of monkeys, and then what is really important to the environment having these?
Sure. Golden lion tamarins are not found in the Amazon forest. They're found in Brazil's Atlantic coastal forest, which is a relatively narrow strip of forest. And specifically, they're found in the state of Rio de Janeiro, a quite small state. So this is an area that's been cut over a number of times, and
meaning the trees have been taken out.
Correct, exactly. And the habitat that remains for golden lion tamarins is about 7% of what once existed.
Yeah, tell us a little bit about this Amazonian rainforest along the Atlantic seaboard. This is something that I think most people don't even know existed. I've been to Brazil a few times, and until I really learned about this, I really wasn't aware that you had all this, really tip to tip across Brazil.
It's not like the Amazon rainforest in many ways. It's a shorter stature forest. It doesn't have the same kind of tall trees. It has a lot more vines connecting the trees, and those are the pathways that golden lion tamarins use.
Well, looking at the species itself, what are some of the major threats that they're under?
Well, this area where golden lion tamarins are now found has been cut over many times during the past 200 years. And so the major problem that we're dealing with is that what remains are small forest fragments that are isolated by cattle pasture or by perhaps by more recent development like highways and electric lines and
Let's
pipelines.
Just stop right there because I really wanted to kind of get to this point so we could actually bring up the video. You have about a 4-minute video. It is in Portuguese, but also it has English subtitles. So let's go ahead and let's see if we can play this 4-minute clip, and then we'll come back, Jim.
Você já ouviu falar, o mico-leão-dourado está em extinção.
Isso faz parte da nossa infância, né, Renato?
É verdade.
Desde que eu me entendo por gente, eu ouço isso. Por exemplo, nessa reportagem do Jornal Nacional de 1985, o repórter André Luiz Azevedo já mostrava o trabalho, a luta pela preservação da espécie.
O mico-leão-dourado é natural desta região, a Mata Atlântica do estado do Rio. Atualmente, há menos de 400 deles vivendo em liberdade.
Quase 30 anos depois, nós voltamos à mesma região. E a notícia é muito animadora.
Nós atingimos 3.200 animais, então é um número muito importante, é muito positivo, que é possível sim salvar o animal da extinção.
O Fantástico visitou o berço do mico-leão-dourado, a reserva Poço das Antas, para conhecer essa história de preservação da fauna e flora brasileiras. Luiz Paulo luta há 40 anos pela preservação da espécie.
Como é que vocês conseguiram trazer, reproduzir a espécie?
Os primeiros esforços, né, para identificar a situação do mico-leão-dourado, na década de 70 ainda, levantaram um dado de cerca de 200 animais na natureza. Então houve um trabalho de articulação importante com zoológicos de várias partes do mundo, de onde vieram animais que foram reintroduzidos na natureza.
Ainda corre o risco de extinção?
Nós temos um problema muito sério de falta de florestas, de falta de área para a reprodução a longo prazo dessa espécie.
O reflorestamento dessa região pode levar no mínimo 10 anos. E se você olhar do alto, vai ter uma noção melhor de que o habitat do mico-leão-dourado está cercado por áreas de pasto. E por aqui, o animal não passa. Ainda há poucos corredores florestais como esse. A Associação Mico-Leão-Dourado monitora 12 mil hectares de mata. A meta inicial era atingir a marca de 2.000 micos-leões-dourados até 2025. A ONG não só bateu, como ultrapassou esse número 11 anos antes do previsto.
É como ver a luz no final do túnel, né? A gente vê que é bem possível atingir nossa meta e criar a possibilidade real de que esta espécie não seja ameaçada de extinção em um futuro.
Essa é uma família inteira de micos-leões-dourados, monitorada há pelo menos 14 anos pelos biólogos. Na verdade, são descendentes de animais trazidos dos zoológicos. Agora, eles estão tão acostumados com a presença de visitantes que eles são muito mansos, muito dóceis e a gente pode chegar bem perto que eles não se assustam.
Nós somos uma família, né? Eu passo mais tempo com esses animais aqui do que na minha casa, né? Eu acho que é uma coisa para a gente ficar muito orgulhoso, né, do nosso trabalho, porque foi muito sangue dado para mosquito, ver eles fora da extinção, a gente conseguiu o nosso objetivo e aí eu vou aposentar feliz.
Uma trajetória longa. Depois de quase ser extinto, o mico-leão-dourado virou símbolo de preservação da Mata Atlântica. Estampou a nota de R$20. E para quem convive com esse simpático macaquinho, ele leva jeito até para mascote.
A gente acha que seria muito importante que essa simbologia fosse ainda ampliada com a chegada dos Jogos Olímpicos. É da cor da medalha de ouro, querido por todos, é uma espécie que só existe no estado do Rio de Janeiro. O mico-leão-dourado tem tudo para ser esse mascote.
Jim, that's absolutely fantastic. Thank you for sharing that. But I really wanted to get to that point where you're talking about this corridor running along and the forest and the impact of grazing and settlements and all. Tell us a little bit about what type of habitat do they really need, and then what are you trying to put together today?
Sure. Well, golden lion tamarins are really lowland species down at the level of the sea, and most of that forest is gone. Less than 2% remains, and so what we're doing is working in habitat that's not really perfect for golden lion tamarins. It's the headwaters of a particular watershed that is suitable for them and still has sufficient forest. And why is that important for the local people? Because conserving that forest conserves golden lion tamarins, but it also conserves the water that supplies drinking water for 750,000 people in that community.
Well, looking at this slide we have here, Jim, this will give you our viewers a look at what the habitat they're really talking about. And you're trying to cobble this together because you see those low trees in between these mounds that you have. And I know that you're working on corridors.
Yes.
So what is this corridor or pathway?
Well, the association is joining up these small forest fragments that remain, because none of those forest fragments is large enough to support a viable population of golden lion tamarins. They're too small for reasons like inbreeding. And so when we tie those together with forest corridors, when we link those, it gets around those problems of inbreeding and allows those small forest fragments to act like one big population.
So looking at this map, what are we really looking at here from the bird's eye view and all of this?
Well, this is a single watershed. It's for the San Juan River. That's where all of the golden lion tamarins in nature are now found. It's not a huge area, it's fairly small. And at the top of the map, you can see some darker green areas, and those are the regions where we are following golden lion tamarins, where we manage them on a daily basis.
And so in looking at this, we're trying to actually take these trees and put them into this area so you can expand this footprint at a gradual basis?
Absolutely. Some of our colleagues are going to be talking about that in coming segments, but in a nutshell, the idea is that the local community is collaborating with the Golden Lion Tamarin Association to raise native trees that they then sell to the association to put into these corridors. It's beautiful.
Now, looking at the corridor, and I know that you're looking to broaden the economic base with these local communities as well as the environmental footprint. So what do we see here that actually gives us hope that the future is really going to protect the golden lion tamarin?
Well, the people that own these we call them viverdos, these nurseries, these tree nurseries, are ambassadors to the local community in a sense. They are benefiting economically from the collaboration that we have with them. In addition, they spread the good word, and instead of people hunting and cutting down their forest, they're now working to conserve it. That's
absolutely fantastic. So we're out of time. In just a few words, what do you see for the future 5, 10, 15 years on as far as the group?
For golden lion tamarins, if we can keep the association, our Brazilian partners, functioning, we have every hope of conserving golden lion tamarins on the long term.
Well, Dr. James Dietz, Vice President, Save the Golden Lion Tamarin, thank you for being with us, and thank you for watching as we create the Emerald Planet.
One day these rats were playing in the woods. Well, it's some matches and that's no good. Yeah. Listen to smoke before you give it a try. Only you. Don't play with matches. Don't play with fire. Cause there's nothing very funny about ripped off life. Nothing very nice on a homeless mind. So if a gorgeous force is what you desire, don't play with matches. Don't play with fire.
Only you can prevent wildfires.
Fire.
Why don't you just wash your car at home?
When I wash my car, everything runs down the street and down into the storm drains. With all the chemicals in the soaps and waxes, the last thing I want to do is poison my own drinking water. At least here, it's all contained and recycled on site. That's why I also take my car in for oil changes instead of doing it myself. I might take a chance on spilling stuff. You know what the best part is?
What?
More time to kick back and watch the game.
How far would you go to protect the planet?
I want you to build an ark.
Here we go. Okay, that's good. Oh, okay. Ow!
Maybe there's another way.
People, the flood is imminent. Is it too much to ask for a little precipitation?
Go to fightglobalwarming.com to find out what you and your community can do to reduce global warming pollution.
Somewhere around the world, there are men and women of the armed forces risking their lives, helping rebuild communities after natural disasters, collecting toys for needy children, tutoring kids in school. These are your sons and daughters who work to keep us safe, secure, and free. Dedicated men and women who put their country first.
We're back to the Inside Scoop Emerald Planet. Here again, your host, Dr. Sam.
Hello and welcome to the Emerald Planet. We come to you each week from Washington, D.C. in the United States as we're looking around the globe in 144 different nations, looking for those 1,000 best practices, the technologies, services, and the products that are making a difference as we go through the 21st century. And also we're looking for that human connection, the leadership that's being developed in all these different nations across the globe, and how we're going to deal with a planet that's adding 2 billion new people by 2050. And so as we add these new people, how are we going to provide the food, the fuel, the fiber, the basic infrastructure that they need to go forward with an ever-increasing quality of life? And one of the ways that we're finding out by doing that is how do we protect the habitat and how do we expect the base of the animal kingdom and as well as all the plants, the insects that go along with them. We have someone sitting right beside me who's been working at this for a long time. Her name is Lou-Ann Dietz. She's the president of Save the Golden Lion Tamarin, and she's also a member of the board of directors of the Brazilian Golden Lion Tamarin Association. Lou-Ann, welcome to the Emerald Planet.
Thank you.
Glad to have you here, and it's just wonderful the work that you're doing, and I just want to say publicly we really appreciate the leadership that you're providing for this as president of your association. But tell us a little bit about the association itself and why, from the United States going all the way to Brazil to worry about a very cute, cuddly, and fun monkey.
Okay. Well, the Associação Mico-Leão-Dourado is the Golden Lion Tamarin Association in English, is a Brazilian non-governmental organization that was formed in 1992, whose mission is to save the Golden Lion Tamarin from extinction. It's the Golden Lion Tamarin in the wild only exists in the state of Rio de Janeiro, Brazil, and the association is located there. A part of their mission is to make sure that the habitat continues for tamarins, but also to provide the ecological services that forest provides to a community of about 750,000 people.
Yeah, this is just incredible as far as the numbers of people. We don't really think about that. We think about we're trying to preserve a species, we're trying to increase the number of trees, the watershed, but also you have all this tremendous number of people, almost 1 million people living there. So what is this nexus between the people, the tamarin itself, and the forest?
Well, over 30 years of research, I neglected to mention that our U.S. organization was started in 2005 by a group of international conservationists like myself who were involved in an effort to take golden lion tamarins back to the wild. From at a time in the 1983 is when this all started. There were estimated about 200 left in the wild, and that's all because of this area is one of the center of economic development of the country of Brazil, and the forest has been destroyed to a large extent. The golden lion tamarin, about 2% of its habitat is left. We started this organization, the association in Brazil, is coordinating an effort that's bringing a collaboration of international scientists as well as Brazilian. It is working with the local community. The staff of the organization is made up of educators, geographers, foresters, agricultural extensionists that are all working with, they all live in the community, and they are all part of this multidisciplinary effort to try to save this forest, which is necessary for the tamarins, but it's also important for saving a watershed where this many people live.
Now, looking at the economic vitality of these different communities, again, Emerald Planet's all about this balance between the environment and economic development, because without economic development, people can't support their families and have a sufficient life, or actually even invest in the environment to improve it. So when you're looking at the tamarin, you know, so you have some people focused on the tamarin itself as a native species, and then you're looking at, you want to increase the native species as far as the trees and the vegetation. So how do you interact with the people so that they feel like that they're part of this, that they want to, you know, protect the monkey, and at the same time is that they don't feel threatened that, you know, some of their land is going to be taken away from them and, you know, turned into forest and wildlife preserve as they may see it, instead of having this, you know, careful balance between all the needs of the beings that live within these areas.
Well, the way we work with that, when I say we, I'm referring to all of this group of people that is growing every day. We look at what are each group's interests in common, and to a great extent, the biologists, international people are interested in saving this species, but local people are interested in having a good life for themselves for the future. And so we look to how can we work together so that those interests combine. And in this case, saving the forest can help to provide income for local landowners, the local community. It provides water for these people, as I mentioned before. It provides safety against landslides, for example, mudslides, and flooding.
This is something we don't even think about, is how you stabilize the soil.
It provides security for a huge number of people. Our problem in working with this is that most people don't understand these connections. And so we try to work to help everybody to understand those connections and to mobilize from every angle, economic, scientific, biological, health even, to see what needs to be done and what should we avoid in planning for the future. The major thing that we're trying to work with is to assure community participation in wise land use planning so that everybody benefits.
I think that's fantastic. Now, looking at the size of this area, I know you said there's only about 2% of the natural habitat left for the golden lion tamarin. How many acres or hectares now that the population is continuing to expand? And then looking at Brazil, but you know, all nations that are going through the same process of trying to get back to native species, whether it's animals, it's plants, trees, insects, whatever it may be. How do you balance that so that, you know, what is the optimum size? Because we can't just take everything and go back, you know, to nature. Because the people need to have their livelihood. So how do you balance that? So all the species are being brought back in, and at the same time the people are then feel like they're a part of something that's very important, that's maybe bigger than themselves.
I think in our case the key has been years of research that have gone to actually define in words that everybody can understand how much forest is necessary and where does it need to be to guarantee the conservation of a minimum viable population of tamarins. And that we are defining that as, in this case, 2,000 golden line tamarins, which we've now surpassed, in 25,000 hectares of protected and connected forest. It's that connected that is
See,
the key.
that's the key thing, is how you cobble all these together. And again, I want to talk about, this is actually on the Atlantic coast of Brazil, which is a very unique area, because most people think of Brazil and the Amazon.
Right.
And this is very different than that.
The Atlantic forest, where these little guys live, is one of the most endangered and diverse ecosystems in the entire planet.
My goodness.
And most people in
amazing.
the region haven't realized that that was the case. It's very different species from the Amazon. And if that is to be preserved for the future, it's the local community that will have to do it.
Yeah.
So it's not only water, but a diversity of creation that merits conserving for everyone.
Well, we're going to have this up here. This is really a beautiful area. So looking at this scene where you have the highways intersecting, but you also, this is a giant watershed for this area, and you're trying to increase the number of trees in the area. Are you using native species as far as the trees themselves are concerned, or is it a mix of different types of forest plantings?
Well, it is native species. For tamarins, it would be okay to have almost any kind of vegetation for the tamarins to cross from one fragment of forest to the other, but we're trying to save an ecosystem as well. And so we're using entirely native species for these corridors now.
No. Now, looking at this scene, let's just use this as a little instruction. We're almost out of time. So when we're looking at this, how do we know where these corridors are? Do we see the green areas, which are, you know, the living area and fields and gardens, or is this all part of that corridor that you're talking about? And we have about less than 30 seconds.
We're talking about little areas that are about 200 meters wide, are our corridors.
200 meters wide,
Yeah.
Okay. Translate that for the Americans are still using the old imperial system. That's what, about 600 feet wide, roughly. Okay, that's not much.
No.
Okay.
We're talking about many, it's like it's a network of many little connections among these
I got to
tiny
ask this
fragments.
question. We're almost done. What do you see for the future of your organization? Be quick. We got about 30 seconds.
We need to maintain a capable staff to maintain these partnerships among everyone that is necessary to keep these connections going.
So collaboration is the name of the game, I think. Lou Ann Dietz, president of Save the Golden Lion Tamarin, a member of the board of directors of the Brazilian Golden Lion Tamarin. Thank you for being with us as we create the Emerald Planet.
Saving for retirement might be easy for some folk, but for others, it might take a little more work. And for those who haven't started, there are still things you can do to catch up.
Oh, that is good news.
Like getting out from underneath past debt. And don't get wrapped up with high-interest credit cards.
Get you some eyes.
Be diversified with your investments. Don't put all your eggs in one basket. Your financial goals are not out of reach. The choice is clear. For a happy ending, choose to save.
Everyone with alcohol and drug addiction is in the same boat. With treatment, you can find solid ground. For drug and alcohol information and treatment referral for you or someone you know, call 1-800-662-HELP.
Dude, are you sure you want this tattoo? Because just do it.
Some mistakes in life are permanent. Like hearing loss. To learn how to protect your hearing, visit asha.org.
You've probably heard about heart disease, but did you know that it's the #1 killer of women nationwide? Heart disease claims more lives each year than breast cancer, lung cancer, or strokes combined. But there are steps you can take to protect yourself against it. For more information on how you can prevent heart disease, contact your local American Heart Association or visit their website at www.americanheart.org.
We're back to the Inside Scoop Emerald Planet. Here again, your host, Dr. Sam.
Hello and welcome to the Emerald Planet as we come to you from Washington, D.C. in the United States as we're looking at a planet that's going to be adding 2 billion new people by 2050. So we'll have a total population over 9 billion people. And so we think about how we're going to protect the environment, how we're going to increase the number of native species, regardless if it's flora, fauna, all the insects, everything out there, all living beings, because it's all part of the total of what it is that we're all about and what we're doing as we have a planet that actually increases the quality of life instead of just having people that are existing. And so I have a gentleman who's sitting beside me that's been at this for a long time now. I can say that, Bill, about you. This is William Bill H. Dent. He is Executive Director of Natural Partners, and also I want to throw in, he's a very active Rotarian. And
As you
International,
are.
Absolutely, and we always got to throw that in. But anyway, Bill, welcome back to the Emerald Planet.
It's great to be here.
And I want to tell the viewing audience that just this particular program has been about 2 years in the making because you've been going back and forth to Brazil working on this project. Tell us a little bit about this balance, this collaboration between Natural Partners, which is your own, and explain a little bit about that, and also the Brazilian Golden Line Tamarin, and the importance of both organizations.
Certainly. Well, Natural Partners started a program called Proviveros, which literally is a program for tree nurseries. And our friends at the Golden Lion Tamarin Association have been doing reforestation work for some time, and back around 2010, 2011, established a network of 8 local tree nurseries with local people involving the local community in the production of the trees that they need to do their reforestation work. And as you heard earlier, they have been working to literally save the Golden Lion Tamarin, which is a very charismatic species, may in fact be the mascot of the Olympics in 2016. So we're talking about an important species in more ways than one. But I've had the pleasure of actually meeting families of these Golden Lion Tamarins, and they're the absolutely cutest things you can imagine. But anyway, it's been thanks to the dedication of a lot of people starting in Brazil. But this work has required the planting of a lot of trees, and they've needed a local source. And I say local because everything begins locally with a collection of the seeds right on through.
And so what you're doing is you're looking for the very best seeds or the plantings for these trees, and also you're trying to bring back the natural habitat for the Golden Line Tamarin itself. So, but explain a little bit about this Atlantic seaboard forest that was there and almost covered all of that area, and now it's almost non-existent. So what happened to all this?
Right. Well, the Atlantic rainforest, as we usually call it here in the United States, Mata Atlântica in Brazil, used to run along the Atlantic seaboard from the northeastern corner of Brazil, the part closest to Africa, all the way down practically to Uruguay. And well, guess what? Where was the first area to be settled? And that wasn't just cities, that was a lot of farms. So what is left of the Atlantic rainforest today is barely 7%. That's really standing and intact. And the Golden Lion Tamarin is one of those species that has suffered from the loss of the trees. The trees have literally been cut from under them. and these families of these lovely creatures. And you know, I don't think we want to live on this planet by ourselves. It's really nice to have all these other creatures.
Well, it's really important to have that, and also you're talking about the possible mascot for the the international soccer contest that's going to be in Brazil.
The Olympics,
and the whole
the Olympics,
and the whole thing about this is that it's something that people can really identify with. But you know, from your side is that you're putting in the trees, you're saving the forest, reestablishing the natural habitat.
That's right.
And allowing these monkeys to then be able to grow their families, because understand they're very social, and not only among their families, but very social with human beings. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah. Well, I should mention that anyone who travels to Brazil, usually they start in Rio, and you can make a day trip, it's only 2 hours, to go out and see these wonderful little guys, okay? So that's something that can be arranged through the Golden Lion Tamarin Association. They have done this work to put back the trees, so including what are called corridors, because the forest has been reduced to a lot of pieces. So one of the strategic things to get a maximum bang for the buck is to connect remaining pieces, so you don't have to put everything back in place. And as Luann mentioned, these are typically 200 meters wide, about 600 feet wide.
Now, Luann is the president of the Tamarin Society within the United States.
That's right.
And also on the board there in Brazil. Okay, go ahead.
Yes. So they need contiguous habitat. Otherwise, you get a problem of genetics. You have too small a population. There's literally inbreeding. The same thing with the trees. We start with seeds, but one of the problems, they had established tree nurseries, okay, to supply the trees directly, a total of 8. And they were producing on a small scale. And I don't know if I'm jumping the gun here, but I did want to mention that my role with this Pro Viveros program to help them expand their tree nurseries, because the demand is going up. They just got funding for another 100 hectares, that's 250 acres, of new forest. And again, it's going to be very strategic areas that they're going to reforest. And they work with the local landowners, because you can't come in on somebody's property and just plant trees.
Now, this is going to be my question, is how do these projects and actually reestablishing this natural habitat really benefit the community, so they feel like that they're part of this, that people aren't just taking their land or taking away their livelihood? So how is all this meshed together?
Well, I think it was brilliant on the part of the leadership of the Golden Lion Tamarin Association to reach out to the communities and involve them directly in the production of the trees. And it's a very labor-intensive activity, so it's actually generated a lot of jobs. And as you can see in the slide, each of the 8 nurseries is producing at least 15 or 20,000 trees a year. And this is a significant supplemental income for these rural families that have their traditional agricultural activities. And the association pays them well in terms of the market. It's a little...
So it's a fair market rate then.
Fair market rate. And I came along to help them write a business plan so that they could expand. And I demonstrated to them, we sat down together and we analyzed, how much are you making? Isn't this a good business? Let's see how we can help you expand. So we wrote a business plan individually with each of the tree nursery operators.
Well, looking at these 2 slides that we have here that you've provided, you have these young people getting involved. So you have the children of the landowners within these areas. How does this information carry over into the schools? Because I know as an educator, you're very interested in tying the schools into all of this and allowing even the teachers and the administrators of these schools to become very involved, and so they become part of the collaboration force that you have in these rural communities in Brazil.
Absolutely. I've been involved a lot in environmental education, and I was the first to say, I want each of you tree nurseries, and the slide shows Luis Paulo, who unfortunately couldn't be on the program today, awarding a certificate to each of those who completed my course after they had written their business plan to expand. But
now, when you say your course, what is your course?
Okay, I should say it's the program that was developed between Natural Partners and Conservation International, Beto Mesquita, to offer training in business skills that any business person needs, and even more so if you grew up in a rural area and might have only gotten a grade school education, help you see what are your margins, how are you doing, what's the market, how can you expand, and how can you sell even to others besides the association.
Now, looking at this certificate, I know this is something I've used over a number of years working with people. These certificates really mean something to the people that are receiving them. Tell us a little bit about why using the certificates, and long term, what is the impact on these families by having this? Because many of these people, you know, as you said, many of them have elementary, maybe middle, high school education, and all of a sudden they're getting this international business course and they're getting a certificate. What's the long-term impact of that?
Well, I think everyone, when they achieve something, should be recognized for their achievement. And there is a group of farmers who learn to be tree nursery operators and to supplement their income and to work with the rest of the community. I really didn't complete my previous answer. Each one of them has committed to working with a local school and creating, if not a tree nursery on the school premises, bringing some of the kids to the tree nursery to see how a tree nursery works. And we're actually planning to set up a kind of a sample of the Atlantic rainforest. So the kids will get to know the names of the trees, because most of them don't.
Yeah, that's really amazing. I'm going to go back, and because I just love this photograph here of the people actually receiving these certificates. But looking at the long-term impact of this education, what do you see, Bill? We have about 40 seconds left. So what do you see as the long-term impact into these communities that you're now reaching out to in these very rural areas?
Well, I think the association has done a great thing in reaching out to the communities and involving them in their work, okay? And with all those allies, they're going to be able to do much more, and those who are participating are going to have a very significant increase in their income, because they're not going to sell just to the Golden Land Tamarin Association. They're also going to be able, with their marketing skills, to sell to many others. There are many corporations in Brazil, especially in the oil-rich area of Rio, that need to do environmental compensation projects. In other words, reforestation.
All
so
right, fits right into Natural Partners and what you're looking to do there.
Exactly.
That's absolutely fantastic.
The business-driven model, yeah.
Okay,
right.
Well, this is William Bill H. Dent. He's the Executive Director of Natural Partners, headquartered in Washington, D.C. Thank you for being with us, and thank you for joining us on the Emerald Planet.
I need a job.
Necesito trabajo. I would like to speak English better. Me gustaría hablar inglés mejor.
I want to be a U.S. citizen.
Quisiera ser ciudadano de los Estados Unidos.
For over 35 years,
por más de 35 años,
the Hispanic Committee of Virginia has been serving our community.
El Comité Hispano de Virginia ha estado sirviendo a nuestra comunidad.
Job training and placement,
capacitación, ayuda para conseguir trabajo,
education for children and adults,
educación para niños y adultos,
immigration, naturalization, and medical referrals,
ayuda para los procesos de inmigración y naturalización y orientación sobre médicos,
are a small part of what we do.
Son solo una pequeña parte de lo que hacemos.
For help, information, or to volunteer,
para ayuda, información o para ofrecerse como voluntario,
contact the Hispanic Committee of Virginia.
Comuníquese con el Comité Hispano de Virginia,
helping everyone participate more fully in American society.
Ayudando a todos a participar plenamente en la sociedad norteamericana.
Hey, Lena, where's yours?
Would you notice if you were missing half your kidney function? According to the National Kidney Foundation, 20 million people have chronic kidney disease, and 20 million more may be at risk and not even know it. Anyone with high blood pressure, diabetes, or family history of chronic kidney disease is at risk. Early diagnosis is vitally important. To get the whole story, talk to your doctor and visit the National Kidney Foundation at kidney.org or call for a free brochure. Because when it comes to chronic kidney disease, you might not know the half.
We're back to the Inside Scoop Emerald Planet. Here again, your host, Dr. Sam.
Hello, I'm Dr. Sam Hancock, the President and Executive Director of the Emerald Planet, Director and host of the Emerald Planet TV. We come to you on a week-to-week basis looking around the globe in 144 different nations, looking at what we call the best of the best practices for the technology, services, and products. And of course, we're identifying the people that are actually being able to implement these as we go to a planet that by 2050, it's estimated to have about 9 billion souls. And so as we ramp up to when we're adding all these 2 billion new people to the planet, how are we going to take care of the animals, the plants, the insects, everything else that we're totally dependent on to make sure that we have an increased quality of living and not just existing on planet Earth? And I have two people with me that we've been actually trying to get on Emerald Planet for a long time now. This is Lou-Ann Dietz. She is the president, and then right beside her is Dr. James Dietz, who's the vice president of Save the Golden Lion Tamarin, and also they are members of the board of directors of the Brazilian Golden Lion Tamarin Association. So Lou-Ann and Jim, welcome to the Emerald Planet.
Thank you. Thank you.
Glad to have you with us. Lou-Ann, tell us a little bit about the American and Brazilian organizations on this Golden Lion Tamarin, and just what is a Golden Lion Tamarin and why is it important?
That's a lot to get across.
I know, that's okay. We have time to do that.
Well, starting with the Associação Mico-Leão-Dourado is a Brazilian NGO. It means the Golden Lion Tamarin Association in English. Its mission is to save the Golden Lion Tamarin, which is a tiny, gorgeous monkey that only lives in the state of Rio de Janeiro, Brazil, in what's left of the Atlantic coastal forest. Their mission is to save that species from extinction in its native habitat, the Atlantic forest, and to continue to provide the ecological services to the community of, now it's about 750,000 people who live in the watershed where this forest is. Our organization, well, I should say, the association is made up of conservation professionals of many kinds, geographers, foresters, agriculture extensionists, educators, who are working together to promote this program. But we have a membership of local landowners, the owners of some these forest nurseries, tree nurseries, local landowner educators, and local leaders that are involved locally. The association does the work on the ground and mobilizes partnerships. Save the Golden Lion Tamarin is a U.S. charity that was started by professional conservationists such as myself and Jim, who have been involved in this program in Brazil. We set up this as Save the Golden Lion Tamarin as a U.S. public charity to be able to provide financial sustainability to the association in Brazil to continue their work.
That's fantastic. Jim, you're a professor emeritus, which means you've been around a long time, given lots of lectures, and you have many graduate students that are going forth in the world and doing well at the University of Maryland, which is a very fine cooperative extension university, land-grant university in the United States. So you've done a lot of research over a number of years years on the Golden Line tamarin, and you've actually been able to fold this into the research and the teaching and the outreach that's of a land-grant university. So how did you meld these two together, and what's some of your research that you feel like is of real value to the students, the university, but also to the planet itself?
Well, my interest in Golden Line tamarins began with studying their biology and not their conservation, because in the day, 1983, I didn't really know what conservation was. And it was only through learning that Golden Lion tamarins were going to go extinct on our watch, if we didn't do something about that, that I began to invest in other kinds of science. And over the years, 30 years or more I guess now, we've been monitoring the biology of Golden Lion tamarins in specific locations, learning a lot about them. And that's really important in terms of being able to set conservation goals. What is conservation? I mean, how do we say we've conserved a species from extinction? Well, if it goes extinct, we know we failed. But the word conservation to us has a very specific biological meaning. We need a certain number of Golden Lion tamarins in a certain amount of forest. And learning that took decades of research to get to the point where we can say we know how much habitat we need, we know how many tamarins we need. And so that's kind of a short answer. And myself, I've morphed from a person who's interested in answering questions about Golden Lion tamarins biology to conservation in a greater sense, not just Golden Lion tamarins, but the forest and the people as well.
I think it's fantastic. Luann, I want to just kind of build on what Jim just had to say about, this habitat reestablishment, save the tamarins from extinction. Have we actually saved the tamarins from extinction? And the whole thing is why is it important? A planet's going to add 2 billion new people that we're worried about 2,000, Golden Line tamarins. What's the connection there?
Well, as Jim mentioned, setting the goal that they've set now for a viable population of Golden Line tamarins is 2,000. But conservation, taking them from extinction, means to have a viable population forever. To have that, we need 25,000 hectares of forest that is connected and protected. I won't try to explain all that, but saying it in that context is a way that everybody in the community can understand. We can't say, we'll never be able to say that the Golden Line tamarins are out of extinction or not threatened with extinction. Right now we have more, because of the research that the Association is doing in Brazil, monitoring these animals, we know that we have more than 2,000 in the wild now. But we don't have 5,000 hectares of connected and protected forest yet. When we reach that, and we will always need to be monitoring the status, because threats continue and change. And we need to be aware of that. And to help orient everyone that's involved, the local community is part of this, as to what one needs to do, or what the group needs to do to be able to address those threats and to assure that the tamarin can continue forever. In the same time, that forest is also serving, and the people are a part of this ecosystem. Mm-hmm. And the forest, the tamarins need, is also important for a watershed. The remaining habitat of tamarins coincides exactly with a watershed on which 750,000 people are depending for their water. The forest helps to maintain public security. In other words, to avoid landslides. It provides green space that is good for everybody's well-being. all of those things are part of this program.
What you're saying is, Luann, if we can summarize it, is that saving the golden lion tamarin is also saving the human beings within this area. So now you're looking forward to 2200. You know, we're looking at the living in the 21st century, but you're already looking at the next century. So what do we need to have besides just, you know, over 2,500 tamarins, over 25,000 hectares? What else needs to go in that, Jim? This mix that's going to be able to guarantee, in a sense, that they're actually going to go into 2,200.
Well, my crystal ball is not working very well today, but I could imagine that the development that now exists in this area where golden lion tamarins are found, this highly populated area, is only going to continue and expand, and that the forest that we are trying so hard to increase and to conserve will be at risk even more. So what we need in the future is that this Brazilian organization continues to do its good work. In order for that to happen, we have to ensure that they have financial stability. Very, very difficult for a non-government organization in Brazil to achieve that for a number of reasons, one of which is that philanthropy in Brazil is a new concept and things like that, and the tax breaks that we enjoy here, all of that. So we feel that we, with Save the Golden Lion Tamarin, have to work hard to help them get to that point by providing the funds necessary. An endowment, for example, $10 million is what it will take to conserve golden lion tamarins.
Now you're getting out to the brass tacks of what it is we really need. 10 million. Looking at the citizens in this area, you're saying save the golden lion tamarin, we're saving the habitat, and we're saving the human beings within that area. So how are you involving the citizens within this? So not only they're there, they're earning an income, and they feel like, hey, this is a nice thing to have these cute little monkeys around, but they're, you know, really advocates for the tamarin itself and the natural surroundings within which it lives. And you have less than a minute to do all that, so you got to be quick.
The people in the region like tamarins too. It's not just us. And they're serving as a flagship for, if we're able to identify what's going to be good for them in terms of the forest, that identifies where we need to have that forest. And it's good for ecotourism, it's all these things we've been talking about. It's basically having a map to understand where the forest needs to be able to be good for everybody. And once that can happen, all of the people in the community can participate in making land use decisions wisely.
That's absolutely fantastic. Well, Luann, thank you very much for being with us on the Emerald Planet and sharing this information. Jim, thank you very much for what you're doing. I think it's just absolutely fantastic. The energy, the resources, and just really the intellectual firepower that you're putting behind this whole thing. And thank you, dear viewers, for being with us as we look around the globe to create the Emerald Planet.